Before I look at this interview, I want to remind you of something. Andrew Marr had a stroke recently and nearly died. You would have thought that this life-changing experience would have given him cause for reflection, and that maybe he would not be such a yes man for the establishment having come through that experience. And maybe he might give the people who he is interviewing a tougher time because he actually wanted to get to the truth. Or maybe not.
The former US presidential candidate, John McCain. He thinks the man who beat him to the White House, Barack Obama, has been insufficiently robust, and he wasn't much impressed by Ambassador Chitchoff either.
Well, it was very pleasant to take a trip down memory lane with the Russian ambassador of the...
Straight away, what do you notice about John McCain? Go on, have a good look at him. This insane dinosaur cannot even apply his own lipstick correctly. What a ridiculous man McCain is. Blah, 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 bullshit, bullshit, blah, blah, blah.
You talk almost as if you see this as a parallel to the events of the late 1930s with Anschlusses and referendums and constant territorial aggrandizement, in that case, of course, by Germany. Do you see a parallel?
Well done, Andrew. That's a great idea. Trying to make everyone think that Putin is like Hitler. Which does two things. Plants the statement into the mind of the sheeple so that every time they see Putin, they think Hitler. And also, if more and more people do say that Putin is now like Hitler, then it lets that absolute lesbian witch Hillary Clinton off the hook, who stupidly compared Putin to Hitler just a few days ago. Like I said the other day, we need cool heads, not sellouts like Andrew Marr interviewing warmongers like John McCain.
I see a lot of parallels, but I don't foresee a cataclysmic war.
I see a lot of parallels, but I don't see a cataclysmic war. Not yet. I want war. Why won't you just listen to me? I know best. Give me war. I want to send your sons and daughters off to die. Oh, God, give me my war, please.
I think there's been a lot of hot air and very little action when you look at and compared to what the Russians just did in invading another sovereign nation. I would resume immediately the missile defense system in Poland and Czechoslovakia. I would have military exercises with our Baltic friends. I would send a small delegation of our military to Kiev to talk about ways that we can help them rebuild their defenses, particularly air defenses.
So he's basically saying, if it was up to him, he would do absolutely anything to make sure that we have war with Russia. And the BBC give this guy airtime? Unbelievable.
Finally, there's been a lot of talk about asset seizures, particularly of some of the great Russian oligarchs and tycoons in places like London, people like Mr. Abramovich. Do you think that's a necessary part of the response now?
I think it's very necessary. I think it's got to be economic, it's got to be diplomatic, it's got to be in a form of helping these countries defend themselves. We have to convince Vladimir Putin that the price of further aggression is not worth the penalties that he would pay. And I have to be very frank with you. 11 people one day sanctioned, and then a few more, and quote, a lot of talk, but very little action, I don't think has been very persuasive to Mr. Putin.
McCain wants war. This guy is incredibly dangerous, and he's given airtime virtually whenever he wants it. This guy, John McCain, wanted war in Iraq. He wanted war in Afghanistan. He funded and armed Al-Qaeda to war in Libya to overthrow Gaddafi. This guy even met with Al-Qaeda in Syria and called for strikes on Assad many times. This guy's called for bombing Iran. He wants us to now bomb Russia and do military exercises right on their border. Oh, and by the way, when he says he wants to fight a war with Russia, he actually means you and your kids, not him and his kids. He wants your kids to die in Russia, not his. What you have to remember when you listen to this disgusting, warmongering dinosaur spew on about military exercises, missile defense systems, etc., that he is part of the crowd that funded the neo-Nazis which overthrew the democratically elected government in Ukraine. He, John McCain, is part of the problem. He is the one that caused this situation in Russia by supporting and funding those neo-Nazis into power. John McCain is a war criminal, and he has no right to talk to the British people about wanting to prod Russia with a shitty stick to cause more war. Get him off my screen. I don't pay the BBC's TV licence for them to parade warmongering dinosaurs in front of me, calling for my kids to be killed and bombed over in Russia. Arizona, what the hell have you been doing re-electing this guy time and time again? It's getting so serious now. You, the people of Arizona, are putting the planet in jeopardy. Recall him, get rid of him.